Hello, everybody. It's Friday. We're live on the air. I'm Mr. Moohead, and welcome to Moohead Radio. Joining me is Bronk from England, and maybe others as we go through the program. I always said when I started this program 19 years ago that if I came up with one take that you're not hearing about someplace else, I've done my job. Because when I started out, that was an easier promise to keep because podcasting wasn't really anywhere. It was in its infancy. Now we got everybody and his brother doing hot takes and God knows what else.
Yeah, you got way too many people doing podcasts now.
Yeah, it just sort through is very, very difficult. And some of them are just, fans who are overly emotional or whatever. And everybody should do a podcast if they want to do a podcast. But my job becomes, I have enough viewers that I want to give you something that maybe you can think about that explains my thinking a little bit more clearly. And it happened today watching The Guardians. And I know you're saying, Mr. Moohead, it's Friday. This is Browns Talk, and I'm going to say not in the beginning of the show.
Good, because playoffs.
What I'm talking about will have a lot to do with the Cleveland Browns. If you watch the game on ESPN, they talked to both managers during, I believe, the fourth or fifth inning of the game, and it was interesting when they talked to Terry Francona prior to the game and during the game. The question that he got hurled at him, which was interesting. I'm going to bring somebody else in here. Howdy, Double P. How you doing?
Good. A lot to talk about today.
Yeah. He was asked point blank by a reporter, is the moment going to be too large and are nerves going to take over these young players of yours, being in many of these guys in the vast majority of them in their first playoff series, and it being a shortened one, which is a best of three, are nerves going to be a factor? And that's an interesting question. And I think it's a fair question. And the way Francona handled it will tell you all you need to know about the difference between Terry Francona and Kevin Stefanski. Terry Francona isn't all about, we got to do better, we got to do this. His answer to the question was forthright. And he said there are two really good teams on that field today, and this is the playoffs. Both teams are good. It isn't going to be nerves that are going to dictate the outcome. The better team will dictate the outcome. Now, in a short number of words, this accomplishes two things. That the manager has confidence that the team isn't going to flat out choke in the spotlight, even though he's playing a bunch of young players. And two, it says, I'm going to give my players something to psych themselves up because there are two good teams on that field. And if we want to prove that we're the better team, we go out and that's how we're going to win. We're not going to get lucky breaks. We're not going we're going to earn wins.
Yep. Now
go out and do it. And it's coaching from such a positive perspective that it's amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing. So I look at this and I say, what would Kevin Stefanski have said?
Oh my God, something totally different.
Yeah. He would have probably said something to the effect of, well, I'm sure that nerves enter into it for both teams. because it's a 3-game series and we really want this first game really bad because it's a 3-game series. And that would have put more pressure on his team and would have cast doubt as to whether he has confidence and whether his players, in fact, have confidence.
And the other thing it would have done would have put more pressure on himself, too, to not make a mistake. I don't think Tito goes into playoff games thinking, oh, my God, what if I pull out the pitcher at the wrong time or use the wrong pinch hitter or something? I don't think if he does worry about that, I don't think he does. Stefanski certainly does.
I got Joe Woods sitting in front of the press saying, we got to do better in the fourth quarter. I mean, we just can't lay down in the fourth quarter like we've been doing. Now, how is that a motivational message to anybody? I mean, and it happens over and over and over again. The thing that was so refreshing about the Guardians game is when Siri hit the home run, and it was about the only pitch that wasn't on a corner that Shane Bieber threw, and it left the park. It's like, well, we're behind.
It is what it is, yeah.
But Bieber kept his shit together, despite the failure he had last year, the last time, I should say, he was in the playoffs. And he pitched a whale of a game. But the very next inning, the leader of the team stood up, unlike Myles Garrett and his never-ending jawing about what he's going to do. Our star player stepped up and did something.
Yeah.
And as soon as we fell behind, in the blink of an eye, we were back up. We were on top.
Yeah.
That's the way this team has played all year, with the elasticity to keep bouncing back and keep coming back and to work at it hammer and tong. What makes the win so impressive is that the Rays are a team that have been built to win this exact way.
Yeah.
And have been. Low payroll, not the big power bangers, really good pitching, really good bullpen, solid defense, and having the confidence to grind out close wins. And the last time we were in the playoffs, we remember how we lost to them 4-0. We remember that.
Yeah.
And what we did today was beat a team their own way.
Totally.
They got Yandy Diaz, who the then Indians got rid of because he didn't have enough power back when we were thinking with our heads up our asses, and Harold Ramirez, who was another guy who could hit the ball, but not really a power guy. We lost those guys. Since then, somebody got smarter and said, you know something? Maybe it's better if we have guys who, instead of pretending to be power hitters like Fred Mil Reyes, who, if they hit the ball, it can go a long way, but just how often they actually make contact with the ball is questionable. We started getting younger guys up from our minor league system that played a certain type of baseball that was a lot more similar to what the Rays were accustomed to playing. And we went out there and beat them at their own game. And that's got to be disheartening, because now we have game 2 tomorrow at noon. If Tristan McKenzie can put together a good outing, all we used was Emmanuel Clase out of our bullpen. So we still have Stefan, we still have Karinchak, who I don't have as much confidence in as I do Clase, but still, we have that. And if we can get on top of them this time, it could really put them under a tremendous amount of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Class A, I would say, is that he actually had swag out in the mound today. He wasn't the moment wasn't too big for him.
He didn't
He
Jose
was
Mesa, did he?
he was too big for the moment, man. He outswagged them. He was throwing his curveballs for strikes and then throwing up the high fastball to the power hitter Azarino or whatever his name is. So yeah, he didn't Jose table it.
And here's the thing. We talk about the Browns, and the Browns going to win. The Browns going to do this. The Browns going to do that. I don't give a fuck. Until they actually do something, I don't give a fuck. To me, it's in the moment when the lights and the cameras are on, you're on the field, and the poor Guardians who've seen nothing but, I'll do my impression of Progressive Field so that
Hello, 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 hello.
popcorn, peanuts.
Popcorn.
All of a sudden, there's bodies in the stadium, and you know something?
There were
Fuck
still
those
empty
people.
seats, though. There were still empty seats at that game.
Yeah, fuck these people.
Yeah.
Fuck these people. You know, the fact of the matter is, if you didn't watch the games all year,
Well, I didn't.
well, I did.
I'll admit that I'm a bandwagon Guardian fan. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not proud.
But all of a sudden, man, you're talking about pressure. These assholes who never showed up, they're up there and they're going, oh, yeah, we're in the playoffs. It's like, all right, fine. And these poor guys are on the field going, there are actually people
Watching us.
watching, yeah. And we still won the same way as when the park was empty.
Yeah.
And, you know, but that's doing something. That's not talking about what we're going to do, what we hope we're going to do, what we need to do. It's going out and doing it.
Correct.
That's all that matters. The result is what matters. The Browns never get the result. They flap away at the gums, but they never get the result. Myles Garrett returns from crash to face the Chargers to atone for the Falcons game and change this game.
Well, let's see him do it.
Is that Cleveland.com headline?
Yeah. And
Cleveland.com.
I don't care. Shut the fuck up, Myles Garrett. You drove your car into oblivion. And you could have died. And if you wanted to change the fucking game so much and the course of the season, you wouldn't have taken such a stupid chance during the season. What sense does that make? But again, there's a difference between talking about doing something and doing something.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of the Guardians, and I'm proud of their manager because he expected them to play the way they play in the limelight. It was tough. They couldn't steal bases against left-handed pitchers, and that's Cash on the other side in the other dugout. You know, he knows how the Guardians play. He knows. So they had to do it in the only way they could. When a man was on base, the man who we trusted the most with the bat in his hands hit it out of the park. And, man, that thing drifted. And both home runs went out in the same part of the field, basically, which were opposite field shots. And down the stretch, man, Clase just looked like the same guy who was regular season. No jitters, no nothing, just strikes.
I thought I have no idea what the temperature was there, but it looked like that
Cold.
heavy air that you get in April where the ball just goes out.
Yes, it looked cold and wet, kind of, didn't it?
It looked like so if we get through this and end up, hosting the Yankees for a couple of games, they may not hit as many home runs as they think they might because of the weather might get to them.
I'm not even looking ahead to that. All I'm doing is you take care of your business. The Browns don't care. They don't take care of their business. They deserve what they get. The ownership deserves what it gets. The coaching staff deserves what it gets. They don't have the courage to change the way they think about things. They just keep doing the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
And you know something? I look at my audience, which is diminished tremendously on a Friday show, because they want to talk about the Browns, the Browns. Fuck the Browns, all right? They don't do anything. I'm tired of it. If they come out on the field in a game that they can't win, they don't have the personnel and they don't have the type of team that is going to be able to beat the Chargers. I'm sorry. They can't win. All right? Now prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Do something. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Go out in the field and do it. If you think you can get to Herbert in the backfield, that's fine. The guy's completing 67% of his passes this year. He's averaging almost 320 yards a game. If you think you can do better than the other teams he's played against, that's great. Do it. Do what the Guardians did. Win your way, whatever that way is, because I don't know what it is. It ain't defense. It ain't stopping the run. It ain't stopping the pass. I don't know what the fuck it is. It isn't being aggressive or not being aggressive. It's not running the ball when you should run it and passing it when you need to pass it. There's no rhyme or reason, and I'm sick of it. I don't care whether they win or lose. At this point, I want them to do something. Give me, as a fan, something to cheer about. Please. Don't ask me because your loyalty to the Browns since 1966 when you were 9 years old, Mr. Moohead. Fuck that shit. You don't. I cheered on the teams who outdid themselves. From the Brian Sipe years into the Bernie Kosar years, I really cheered those teams on. But, you know, how are you going to cheer on a team since 1999 like this? 23 fucking years. How are you going to do it? And they're going to come out in their home stadium and they're going to lay an egg, and the fans will immediately boo them. And then it will become a home field advantage for the Chargers. So I can sit here and I can analyze all the statistics and tell you what I think the final score is going to be, but it doesn't matter, because whatever business we need to get done, we're not going to do, because we never do. And we can't do it from one week to the next to the next. I've watched a season, an entire 162 plus 1 games of the Guardians.
Wow.
And I've watched every one of them, and I've watched them basically win and lose in the same way. And it's easy to say, well, they lost when they didn't score more runs than the other team. But the bottom line is they didn't have a very good record when they fall behind early in a game. And they actually, if we can keep it close, we can get back shorter chunks. But it's hard for this team to score in bunches. We know that.
Yeah. So
what they did is, in the beginning of games, they would jumpstart themselves by getting on base and stealing bases and trying to make something happen. And they went through periods where they would have winning streaks and then they would have losing streaks. And it was like, geez, it doesn't seem like we win enough at home. And, you know, and then we went on that road trip where we blew away the Twins and the White Sox. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're rolling. And we're still rolling right now.
Yeah.
And the way we win, and I'm going to say this to anyone who is my age, because I know the younger people, y'all want to talk about Aaron Judge. Y'all want to talk about the long ball. You want to talk about Albert Pujols, El Hombre. You want to talk about whatever it is, the ball leaving the park. Fuck you too. I watched the St. Louis Cardinals, Bob Gibson on the mound.
Oh,
right?
God, that was a team, man.
Lou Brock leading off, stealing over 100 bases in a season. All right?
Yeah.
Kurt Flood in center field, who caught everything that came anywhere near him. Del Maxville at shortstop, stopping everything and making plays in the infield. The team won by playing the game fundamentally correctly. And I'll tell you something that I firmly believe. You didn't hear shit about Major League Baseball deciding to get rid of the shifts until the Guardians started winning. They don't want teams like the Rays and the Guardians to just kind of nickel and dime their way to victories. They want the long ball. The owners have juiced the ball. They've juiced the players. We know what they want. So as soon as a team does, and I'm an old baseball fan, I say, well, Jesus Christ, I know for a fact that if they played Rod Carew that way, he'd poke it through the left side of the infield and he'd
Every
hit 400.
single time. He'd hit 500, probably.
I mean, you know, what the fuck? And so we adopt this way, which is the old school way of playing, which imagine hand-to-eye coordination, being able to hit the baseball consistently, not striking out, stealing bases and playing aggressively and taking extra bases off of other players' hits, hitting behind runners that allows them to get around from first to third. Think of what Rosario did today, just shooting him out in the right field. What Naylor did every time he was up at the plate, he got one hit that way, but he was trying to go opposite field to go against the shift. But now they're going to take the shift away because they just don't want to give an advantage to skilled players. Understand?
Yeah.
This never was about skilled players because Aaron Judge could come back next year, hit 26 home runs, and never come close to 62 again.
That's what Roger Maris did. Exactly.
It can happen. You can have that kind of year where everything goes your way, but the skill of the game is what matters to me. I like consistency, and I have none with the Cleveland Browns. We can't stop the run when we need to. Well, we were tired. Well, so were they. But, we didn't have our first string. You're telling me that Myles Garrett before the car crash wasn't like hacking up a lung every time trying to breathe by the fourth quarter, even though he doesn't play every single down? Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit me this way. I mean, I watched every minute of the Browns games, too. They're underachievers. Their coaches are underachievers.
That's exactly what the problem is. They are underachieving. Like
they're great at talking about what they're going to do. They don't do it. And that's all I'm asking for. Go out and do your job. Hey, catfish. Mike Cheerhart. Catfish Cooper, one of my great disc jockeys from Flint, Michigan, back in the day. He was our night guy, and Sarah on a Stick. He had this ridiculous stick that was like the stick from a mop that had like a head with a long hair on it that was called Sarah on a Stick. God help me, I loved my people. And I love them still today, even though it has nothing to do with sports. It's fantastic to see people showing up. I hope everything is going well for you after the hurricane. Too bad with a name like Catfish, who probably, the water and the waves and the surge wouldn't have scared you. But unfortunately, he got caught big time in the hurricane. And I'm grateful that you're okay, Mike. And I mean that seriously. But
so Moo,
yeah.
I don't know if you're done talking about baseball, but what's your 2 cents about the Aaron Judge and does he have the home run record? And what's your thoughts on that?
Again, the game is different. The composition of the ball is different. I mentioned the 68 Cardinals because the pitching mound had to be lowered.
Yeah.
Because the advantage that pitchers were getting in 1968. The game has tinkered a lot with the ball chemical substances that were allowed to make players bigger. And the league clearly wants baseball to be a little bit more offensive, not offensive in the way that is rude and offensive, but with more scoring, and that the long ball achieves that. So much so that all hitting instructors started changing methodologies to change the angle of balls coming off of bats, trajectories, and it changed the entire course of the game. To try to compare Aaron Judge to Roger Maris, Roger Maris was hitting the ball over a 296-foot right field fence, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, let's put it into perspective. And he never came close. I think 39 was the most he hit besides that, right? So, and it's nothing against Roger Maris and the Maris family. I mean, it was a great year, and poor Roger lost almost half of his hair, it seems, because of the intense pressure that he went through with the press and whether he could get over Babe Ruth's record. Babe Ruth, you want to talk about how many home runs Babe Ruth hit? Well, they counted ground rule doubles as home runs back then. If you bounced the ball over the fence, it was a home run. Right? People don't realize the rule changes that have gone into effect. And you know something, you're going to compare him to Barry Bonds and the people who took steroids. You can't do that. I mean, because the ball coming off the bat with guys with steroids, it was ridiculous. The whole thing was ridiculous. The whole Mark McGwire thing. And to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck, because the home run is part of the game. It's not the game.
Yeah.
So
got a fun fact from 1968. Do you recall the American League batting champion and his batting average?
From 1968, the league leader are we talking the entire major leagues?
American League.
The American League in 1968. I'm going to say, because I know that Rod Carew hit some kind of amazing average. But
this is amazing, but in the wrong way.
Yeah, the pitching was so dominant in 68. I want to say that the top average was 282.
No, it was Carl Yastrzemski, 301.
Yeah.
A guy by the name of Danny Cater, I think, was second or third. Some guy from the Athletics.
Was that the year that Yaz won the Triple Crown?
Oh, no, he won it in 67. That was the year that the Red Sox got beat by the Cardinals in the World Series. That's when Bob Gibson was Bob fucking Gibson. The next year, they played the Tigers, and they manhandled Denny McLain. I think Bob Gibson won all of his games, but Mickey Lolich beat the Cardinals 3 times and came back from being 3-1 down in the series, I think.
So, from my perspective, that's the last I'll say about the home run race. I don't care about it's like asking me who is the greatest heavyweights, who is the greatest, you're comparing things from different times.
Yeah, I mean, there's periods. Like 30 different breeds of apple, and you're comparing 30 different apples to 30 different apples.
Who was the hardest puncher in the history of boxing? And you're going to tell me, well, Joe Louis. But, Joe Louis only wore 8-ounce gloves. They ended up having to switch to 10 and 12-ounce gloves because of, danger. So I can't compare those things. I know that Ernie Shavers hit like a mule. I get that, but I can't equate that with a man who's wearing 8-ounce gloves. So, I can't say what the wood in the bats were made of. I can't tell you the spring in the ball. I can't do any of that.
Well, even with sports like golf and tennis, the equipment's changed so much.
You
bet. The balls and the clubs and the rackets and the tennis.
Who is the greatest tennis player of all time?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
Rod Laver. It's like Rod Laver would, if Roger Federer hit a serve at Rod Laver, he'd be diving out of the way. I mean,
Rod Laver would struggle against the women nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's just everything has its time and its place. Let's kind of keep things compartmentalized. Now, I'll turn my talking over about the Browns because I think people, want to know what we think they're going to do.
I
And
wish they knew what they were going to do.
I think
That's
they're
the
going to give
problem.
up over 30 points, and they're going to fucking lay down. That is what I expect from this team. And I think that, coming into, after a 389-yard passing performance by Herbert and what he did to the Browns last year,
Oh,
he's
God.
coming in feeling pretty good about what he's going to be looking at in whatever the Joe Woods defense is supposed to be. And there's no way the Browns could possibly score that many points. So, and I just see the fans coming to the stadium to boo. That's what I see. I see a game that is going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be humiliating. And until the team does something, instead of talks, that's what I think is going to continue to happen when they play these better football teams. What I can say from a rational perspective is that this year, the Chargers have been all pass, no run. All right. So that you know that I'm doing my homework and I'm not just blowing it off, that is that's the whole thing. They're running backs. I think Eckler is a much better receiver than he is a running back. He's only averaging like 3 yards a carry coming out of the backfield. But Herbert is just so solid that it's difficult.
Now, one good thing in our favor is the Chargers do let teams stick around and hang around, like with the Texans and some other games they had this year.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're not as dominant as they should be based upon the fact that they invested heavily into their defense.
Yeah.
But again, at what point it starts clicking for the more talented defensive players within that system, I'm not a Chargers fan, so I can't speak to that. What I can say is they have a lot of good receivers, and they're dangerous. That's what I can tell you.
Well, I'll make a quick comment of what I think will happen. I tend to agree with you, but both teams are fickle. They both have a Jekyll and Hyde character about them, and then the Browns tend to play better after they've had a loss. So if we get the good Browns show up and we get the not so good Chargers show up, then the Browns have a chance to win this game by maybe getting a couple of turnovers more than what the Chargers may get. But if it all goes to form, I totally agree that an ass raping seems to be the most likely result. So I would say to anybody who wants to bet on this game, don't bet on this game, because although the Chargers winning by a lot seems more likely, I think anything can fucking happen.
Well, I mean, you're looking at 67% completions for Herbert, 1,250 yards in 4 games, okay?
Yeah.
That's 312 yards per game. Hey, D, how you doing? I love going back and forth with this guy, too, after the show. The comments we throw at each other. It's good to see you in the chat room.
But if we manage to sack him by some miracle and then re-injure whatever he's got injured on him, then all bets are off. So
he's thrown 9 TDs, 2 picks. That's all, and he's been sacked only 4 times in 4 games. So and his rating's an 102.
Yeah.
So What can I tell you? When you look at the rushing, though, Eckler averages 3.1 yards a carry. Sonny Michel only 2.6 yards.
Yeah, he's Trent Richardson. He is.
Their running game just isn't anything, and hasn't been. The receiving core, though, they've got Williams, they've got Everett, Eckler has been 27 receptions out of the backfield. And you're telling me that Jacob Phillips is going to have to stay with the back out of the backfield? Good luck. Good luck with that.
John Johnson's got to actually shut up and start playing.
Well, look how many wide receivers. Williams, they have who's got 18 receptions. Everett, the tight end, 16. Eckler out of the backfield, 27. Carter with 11, and Palmer with 14 receptions. All right. So this guy spreads the ball around. Yeah. He sees the field. He's not some guy who's going to stare down one receiver. And he's 6'6". He does have a rib problem, and if you can get to him, that's one thing. But nobody really is. 4 times he's been sacked all year. Yeah. Now, that makes it tough. Defensively speaking, what they have on defense is Khalil Mack. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's got 5 sacks.
Yeah, and that'll Chubb too. Chubb might not do anything with Mack out there.
But he's one of the best
run defenders.
Rush defense of edges in the league.
Yeah, I would avoid Chubb on the fantasy this week for you people who do that.
But the defense is really not good against the run. The Chargers give up yardage on the ground. So what that probably means is if they give up a lot of yardage, that Stefanski's going to come out throwing.
God, yeah. Anyway, I got to pop out. I may be back towards the end of the show.
You're always welcome.
Bye.
All right, bye. But, there is a blueprint if you could run the football successfully, yes. But I see no blueprint from a defensive perspective. These guys can't cover. And there is no evidence that since last year, the continuity of being in the same system, that our second-year players have gotten better since last year. You can't tell me that Denzel Ward and company and Greedy Williams will be on the field for about 6 minutes before he's carried off. And, I'm sick of seeing the same shit over and over again. This is an opportunity. It is like put up or shut up. And I'll watch the game. I'll do the halftime show. I'll do the post-game show. And until I'm a member of the Show Me State. You just put me down in Missouri. I want to see it. And I want to see the effort week after week after week.
It's just funny because right now we're playing basically 500 ball. We win a game, we lose a game, we win a game, we lose a game.
Against bad teams, though, we're losing.
Yeah, and last year we were 3-3 after 6 games, also playing 500-ish ball. We finished 8-9. So I'm starting to question Stefanski as a head coach and what type of coach he is.
Well, I mean, the question about Stefanski is he's got one idea. It's the old line about, experience, You have 1,000 experiences. You're going to have one experience 1,000 times, or you're going to have 1,000 experiences one time. And the guy with 1,000 experiences is going to be smarter. The guy who has one experience 1,000 times is a stupid dumb fuck. This guy doesn't learn. He doesn't learn from nothing. The only thing that I think has been finally proven to the numbskulls in the front office and the coaching staff is that Schwartz can't play. All right? That's what we know. He can't play. He's no good. We knew it a long time ago. You can just see his snaps diminishing week by week by week. Got to get David Bell into the flow. And, he was behind, the 8 ball being injured in training camp. So, and as usual, D is in the chat room doing his thing. He has a real opinion about this. And, to me, Stefanski, what he says and what he does are two different things. And when push comes to shove for a guy who's supposed to be an offensive mind, he too often just makes obliteratingly bad decisions, play calls at the worst possible moment. And until he proves that stops, this is going to continue happening over and over again. What happened to Ford, he didn't have a better idea. It's an ankle kickoff return. The last kickoff that he returned, He twisted an ankle, and my understanding is he's going to be out for a while. So, but the special teams, as far as kick returns, again, yeah, we were supposed to have done something by bringing Akeem Grant into the fold,
Yeah,
and that didn't work because he got hurt, and we have no backups. There's nobody on the practice squad, nobody who has anything whatsoever. So now we're right back down to the same
EPJ
bunch of
and
non-productive returners.
Yeah.
They stop running and they fall to the ground, that kind of shit. So that's that. I wish that I had in front of me team stats, but I do know that the Chargers defense is not good against the run. They're averaging giving up over 5 yards per carry.
Yeah, they're ranked second to last in the league.
Yeah, so that's where to attack them if you know how. But, you got to have the ball, and you got to be able to get them off the field.
It's going to be interesting to see. They have J.C. Jackson, the Patriots corner, who came over there. I think he's going to be back for his first game, so it's going to be interesting to see him against Cooper if he's going to eliminate him.
Well, D, if you were watching closely, when Ford got hurt, it was Dearness Johnson who they put back to return the last kick. He just downed it and let it sail over his head. But no, he's not even in the plans. Now he might be because Ford is out of the equation, but Ford had leapfrogged Dearness Johnson. So, it's it is what it is. And I'll tell you something else while I'm looking at something out of the corner of my eye. Ineptitude, as long as John Elway is a goddamn special consultant to anybody, fucking horse mouth prick, he was a good quarterback, but he obviously knows nothing about what it takes to acquire, see with his own eyes what a good quarterback looks like. And Russell Wilson looks like shit. I mean, everybody's talking about Baker Mayfield looking like shit. I'd be the first to go, thank you, sir. May I have another? But
and I'm glad you on Twitter pointed that out because I saw the highlights on Sunday when they do show the games and whatnot. And I saw Baker diving in with his shoulder, and I'm like, Baker's still just reckless.
He's no different than Stefanski. You don't learn from nothing.
Yeah.
These two men could never work together because the fact of the matter is neither one of them wants to be out of the spotlight. Fuck Baker Mayfield. The bottom line is I don't want the excuses of, I was hurt with my shoulder, and then crack a guy with that injured shoulder after you threw an interception that was tipped at the line of scrimmage, and the guy, if he hadn't have done that, the guy would have probably bowled into the end zone. Instead, he knocked him out and risked his shoulder for 1 fucking yard. They would have had the ball 4th and goal at the 1 or 2 yard line, or 1st and goal at the 1 or 2 yard line. They would have just ran it in. And Baker Mayfield doesn't help his own cause. I don't, the Russell Wilson thing, he played for Pete Carroll. Let's kind of get real about this.
Yeah.
The scheme that they're in, I mean, ever since Christian boy, Tim Tebow, any quarterback who stepped on the field for the Denver Broncos been shit. Their scheme has been shit. They don't score points. They don't do anything. So what would make everybody think that automatically, voila? And I really get pissed off at the people who are sitting there saying, and there's one guy who writes to me, and I don't understand it. It's like, why are you fixated on Baker Mayfield? It's like, I'm not fixated on him. The question that was asked by half of the Browns fan base was, I think we may have made a mistake that he may be better than what, than what we gave him a chance to be, and he's not.
Yeah.
That's all. There's lots of quarterbacks who don't live up to the number 1 overall pick. It happens all the time. Just so happens the Panthers have 2 of them. The bottom line is that why would anybody think that Deshaun Watson coming out onto a field, and I know there are people who want Deshaun Watson to get hurt for a couple of reasons. One, because they think he's the devil. 2, it's because these people who are the moral crusaders who really don't give a fuck about women, all right, but they have to say they do in order to be trendy. And 3, because he's black, all right? He's got 3 strikes against him right off the bat. He did some things that were really stupid, unbelievably, and not smart, all right? But Myles Garrett did something that was not smart. The difference is that he had 1 female in the car with him as opposed to 24 different ones over time in hotel rooms. But what would make anybody think that even if Deshaun Watson were the white knight, if he was the Ajax, white as can be guy, and I mean his record, not his complexion, what if he was the absolute perfect citizen? What would make anyone think that after he played with the goddamn Texans, who suck and will continue to suck, will always suck, and he couldn't get it turned around over there because they just kept changing things under him and pulling the rug out from under him. He had great statistics, but it didn't matter. The defense would always wind up giving up 1 more point than he scored. What would make anyone think, with the lame duck set of wide receivers that we have, that Deshaun Watson would be making a difference? This doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And people who think this way, the Browns deserve what they get for getting Deshaun Watson. And you're comparing Baker Mayfield, a guy who's playing, to a guy who hasn't even played yet in Cleveland. And that is what I hate about Cleveland Browns fans, because they're negative. They're negative to the degree that they've buried the guy before he even hits the field. My question is, how do you expect things to be any different when the decision-making of not finding wide receivers that can get downfield and get separation, that's going to affect every quarterback the same way? And look at Russell Wilson. He looks no different than any quarterback who'd end up in Denver. Don't tell me it's him. He has a track record of being a really good quarterback. What happened? It's horse mouth. It's that whole organization. They're fucked up. They make bad decisions. They get bad results. And it's the same thing for the Browns. So don't hold your breath. Don't say this is a morality play. And when Deshaun Watson hits the field and things are no different, you go, you see, he's just a rapist. I hope you get raped with that kind of stupidity, because you don't deserve to live if that's how limited you are. The guy needs to get his head together. He needs to get well. And I don't mean physically like Baker Mayfield's shoulder. You got to get his head right. You got to stop this nonsense. But as a football player, even if he redeemed himself becoming a great human being, if he became a protege of Mahatma Gandhi, whatever it is, he would still go out in the field and say, nobody's open downfield. It would be the same thing. And that's what Russell Wilson is like, God, I thought I had to get out of Seattle, but man, I didn't think that things would be this bad in Denver. But look at the record, but he got the money. He got the money.
You all talk about organizations. The Broncos, without even seeing Russell play, gave him 5 years. So now they're stuck with him.
Yep. That's just the way it goes. If you haven't heard, Myles Garrett's going to play. And the thing that's so funny is the guy's hurt. He's got blood in his eyes still. His shoulder, he's got a sprained AC joint. And he was hurled over 3 or 4 flips in a car. And he's playing. And Jadeveon Clowney saying, I don't know if I'm going to be ready. And you know something? And if you didn't hear what Myles Garrett said, is he goes, my job right now is to make sure that Clowney gets his ass out there on the field. Clowney practiced today, but is listed as questionable. But
once again,
Clowney's injuries last longer. They just do. That's always been the case, will always be the case. And you got him. Now you got him. But again, anybody, if the Atlanta Falcons did what they did with a guy out of Ball State, and, that guy, you know what he looked like? He looked like somebody so excited to be running away from Muncie, Indiana. You have no idea. It's like, Topaz, get me out of here. It's like, he was like a whirlwind right down the field. Anyone could have run through us. Anybody. Yeah. And it's because we retired. I don't know, man. Until they start doing something, I don't give a flying fuck. I really don't. So if Clowney practiced, that's great. Russell Wilson, for his part, says he let his team down in the overtime loss. Well, yeah, but that quarterback's been saying that, I'm responsible. I take the blame. Baker Mayfield. I can take all the responsibility of this, and then go back out and do it again the next week. It's like, yeah, it's a team game. Guys got to get open. You got to have the vision. And the thing that was Russell Wilson being booed by Broncos fans while Horsemouth is sitting up there in the booth, if you really want to do something smart, what you do is whoever that lawyer fuck is who threw the water bottle at Haslam, maybe there's less of a penalty if you throw it at a consultant instead of the owner of the team. Maybe somebody should throw a grapefruit at Horsemouth. Just conk him in the head. Because I don't know. If you didn't see how wide open the receiver was that Russell Wilson didn't even see him. KJ Hamler is the guy's name, and he was wide open. Couldn't see him.
You saw his reaction after the game was over?
Oh, how? And I try to tell people, this is the deal with the Browns. They say, how is it possible that we keep turning over the roster with new players and the same thing happens over and over? Because the frustration of that shit is just unbearable. He rips his helmet off and throws it on the ground. Jesus fucking Christ, what do I have to do? It's like, do I have to have the costume that the guy had in Rhinestone Cowboy? Is that what I need? The Electric Horseman? Is that what I need? I need that outfit so he can fucking see me? Unbelievable.
It's just so funny because last year we had Browns fans crying that they wanted Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and all these quarterbacks have shown that they stink.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's like guys my age, guys my age, looking at younger women going, God, I'd really love to have. And you can pick out any one of the gorgeous women who are, on television or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get your desire, but if your testosterone number is down here, It doesn't matter how beautiful she is. She's going to come a lot more often and a lot harder for a younger guy than you. Your performance has something to do with her performance, you stupid fuck. What is it that people don't understand? It's like, oh, I wish we had this quarterback. I wish we had this. What makes you think that Tom Brady, that Jesus Christ incarnate in football, could come to Cleveland in this system and that it would go any different for them? Wide receivers being wide open. I mean, so KJ Hamler and Odell Beckham Jr., right?
Yeah.
They're tired of streaking across the middle of the field wide open and being ignored. They got Glenn Close.
Wow. That I actually saw some of that game last night because I was awake and I turned on and I watched the entire third quarter and I'm thinking, well, now I'll be able to sleep now. That was the most god awful game I've ever seen that didn't have the Browns in it.
I turned it off.
It was so bad.
I turned it off. It was like, God, this is just like watching.
I think where I left it was where Matt Ryan slammed his helmet on the sidelines in disgust, and then they ended up winning the game. So
it made me want to flip the channel over to the cornhole championships, and I don't mean the ones where they're tossing the bag through the holes. I mean two gay guys.
Cornhole.
Yeah, right, two gay guys going at anal sex. I would have rather watched that than, honest to God, to have to sit there and watch those two teams struggling.
I think it was a lot like that. You know, it was a lot like cornhole.
God, it was just like the old dirt road, man. It was just terrible. Like testing your patience. It's like these teams are horrible.
And I feel bad for the fans who had to sit through it in overtime.
Wow, those Denver fans, man. See, it's not just us. It's not just us who suck. And that's the point you made the other week, that it's not just the Browns. Where it goes, oh, woe is me, I'm a Browns fan. Well, there's other fan bases that have to watch sucky football. So it's not just us.
Here's something I want to say before we start guessing at the scores of the game. I have such a problem with the way things are in America that here's two stories that'll just make you just want to just die.
Oh, God.
The New England Patriots caused irreparable damage to a U.S. flag signed by Tom Brady by improperly displaying it in the team's Hall of Fame at Gillette Stadium. The flag's owner contends in a federal lawsuit. According to the guy who's suing, after the flag had been on display a couple of months, Brady's signature, which was written in a blue Sharpie, had significantly faded due to the way it was being, shown, which reduced the flag's value by as much as $1 million. If you could afford that fucking flag to get that signature, you don't need the goddamn $1 million, you goddamn cocksucking whore. All right?
Wow.
I get very tired of this sort of thing. There are people who are devastated here in the state of Florida who don't have fucking homes. And you're trying to tell me that, I'm supposed to feel sorry for this guy. Put him on fucking Pawn Stars and let's see what he can get for the goddamn flag. Stupid story. And of course, the Patriot spokesperson said the team had no immediate comment. But look, the flag doesn't mean anything to Bob Kraft because he's getting a hand job wearing the American flag lapel. Getting a bunch of jizz on the American flag doesn't matter to Bob Kraft.
Can I ask a sort of slightly related question on all this? So there was this hurricane in Florida last week. Was there like a moment of silence before this baseball game today involving Tampa Bay and the Guardians for the hurricane victims?
No, I don't think there was.
Because I'll tell you what, there was a moment of silence during the England women versus the U.S. women for the 100 and some people that died at a football game in Indonesia. So they had a moment of silence for them, honoring.
Where did they die of starvation?
No, there was, Anyway,
I'm kidding.
good
I'm
joke,
kidding.
good joke. But they died in one of these stadium Holocaust catastrophe type
I'm just on a
things that
roll
happens.
here.
You already when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. But anyway, so yeah, so no moment of silence for these hurricane victims, or no, there wasn't any advertising saying please donate to Tampa Bay or anything like that during the broadcast, was there?
No, and Renee's saying, do I want the actual law? And the answer is, I know what the actual law would say. I mean, obviously, if he handed something over and the deal was that they would hand him something back, same condition that they received it in, then he's going to win in court. I understand that. But that's not the point of what I'm trying to say, because I'm going to combine this with another story. You know, Thurston Howell III catches Aaron Judge's 60-second home run ball, right?
Okay.
I mean, why can't it be some guy who's trying to put his kids through school? Why does it have to be some guy sucking the tit of financial Wall Street who gets this damn thing? And it's always the same thing. I'm convinced that he had some kind of medication that all the people who were out in that part of the left center field stands, that he injected them and they all passed out so he would get the ball. It's ridiculous that the woman who is the woman of his present, not his life, but of his present, says,
right now,
that's my boyfriend who's holding that ball. You know, it's like, that's funny because you're usually holding his balls. I don't want to hear from you. It's like, shut the fuck up. And instead, it's like, no, I mean, it's terrible. And she's salivating because she is a sometimes reporter journalist who appeared on the Bachelor show on TV. So she's a walking piece of fucking meat. Okay.
Wow.
So she couldn't win on The Bachelor because The Bachelor found somebody who, you know, sucked him in her dick and was prettier or whatever the case may be. I hate that show because it's more demeaning toward men and women than anything that Deshaun Watson did. All right. So the whole thing here now is that she's identified him, and you know she ended up with him because he's got money, and they're saying he's just works in the finance area.
I'm gonna have to read this now and find out who it is.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like this guy. I mean, get this.
Does it say where he works?
No, it says the owner of a sports memorabilia auction house says that he's offered $2 million to the fan who caught Aaron Judge's American League 60-second home run. J.P. Cohen, oh boy.
Yeah,
he's one of my tribe. Does this surprise you? The president of Memory Lane Incorporated in Tustin, California, told the Associated Press on Wednesday that he texted and emailed Corey Humans, the man who caught the home run ball. But Cohen says Humans has not yet replied. When they asked Humans what he wanted for the ball, he said, you know, I think I'm going to kind of sit back on it like I do the stock market and wait for the propitious moment. And you know something? I want a goddamn pitching machine to throw the thing 102 and it goes right up his rectum. That's what I want, because it's like enough of the profiteering.
Oh God. You know what you need to do? You need to do that guy who's got the baseball in the Boris Badenov voice, you know, waiting around for offers, going,
I think the $2 million is a nice number for somebody, but not for me.
Not for me.
You know. So the only good thing you can say is that Humans grabbed the historic souvenir as it sailed into the front row of section 31 in left field. He didn't throw any children who were out there over the balcony to get it. All right. That's about the only good thing we can say. And so now he's just playing cutesy. I haven't really thought about what the ball's worth, but I've got it super glued to my hand, so nobody can possibly get it away from me.
I bet he can't sleep at night. He's probably up 24 hours guarding this damn thing.
If you're wondering what the most expensive baseball, the record price for a home run ball is $3 million, paid for Mark McGuire's 70th from the 1998 season.
You wouldn't get $3 million now for it, though.
Yeah, I mean, Cohen had previously pledged to offer $2 million for Judge's 60-second homer. So, the Jewish guy's like, so what? I know he's going to end up hitting the goddamn thing. I just want a piece of it. What's wrong with that? Or if it's Tony Soprano's world, it would be like, I just want a fucking piece of it. I don't know what the big deal is. I just get my piece, okay? Capiche? This is sports. How much does Russell Wilson make? How much does Deshaun Watson make? How much does the fan make for catching the ball? It's like, I don't care.
It's insane. I tell you, what was that? Go on. I lost it.
Well, I thought you were going to talk about the other Boston story with Ime Udoka. Have you seen the developments there?
No, I haven't. What did Udoka do?
So apparently some stuff has come out. One, that it started way back in, let me see, that they said that it started during the playoffs and it went into July. And they also found out that it wasn't multiple women. It was just one. And the unwanted comments were before they had their relationship. And obviously they found they have an identity. And they said she was a team service manager. She was 34 years old, is a devout Mormon, and is married with 3 children.
Devout Mormon?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't, well, so she's used to...
We don't even want to go there.
Having a lot of artillery going off in her at the same time.
Next.
You know what they call the semen that she intakes is called Salt Lake,
Here we go.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't do this, but this is Friday and it's a black hole in space Friday for me.
It's Friday and you're doing impressions. You got to do Dwayne Stats doing the Jose Ramirez home run call.
Okay, here we go. Dwayne Stats. And he's not dead, so I don't have to
put
the
dead.
echo
You don't
on.
have to put the echo on.
And a big moment here for the Rays. The Rays are up 1-0, but they got to be careful with Jose Ramirez and the man on first base. And here's the windup in the pitch. And there's a fly ball out toward right center field. That ball's carrying all the way back to the wall, and it's gone and out of here. I don't know how that little munchkin managed to hit the ball that far when it didn't look like he got all of it. There's something fishy going on here.
Fucking Dwayne Stats is like...
Poor old Dwayne.
Yeah. So I just get real tired of all of this shit. It's like money. Cleveland Browns, do what you say you're going to do. Just do it. Show me. Don't tell me about it. Now, Double P, you're first. Final score of the Browns-Chargers game.
I think the Browns, like we said, I think the run game is probably going to be really working. I think it's going to be a game like it was last year, a big game from Njoku, over 200 yards on the ground, because we stated the Chargers do have the second worst rush defense. And for all Stefanski's woes, the Browns are top 5 in offensive scoring, so I do think we'll put points up. So I have the score 31-27 Browns.
Boy, you set yourself up for such disappointment, my friend.
And plus, the Browns this year, they've been going win-loss. So it looks like a win.
Point. That's a good point. They've been very inconsistently consistent. So, yeah, that's a very good point. I'm going to say Chargers 45, Browns 17, and we'll be booing in the third quarter.
We'll say that score again.
Chargers 45, Browns 17. It's going to be ugly ass rape, I'm afraid.
Well, we know that the Browns consistently score in the range of anywhere from 20 to 27 points in a game. All right. They're not going to really score more than that. And they're not, I don't think they're going to get turnovers. Oh, Renee, you're another one. Boy, well, you don't have to feel the pain though up there. You know, it's nice of you to say that.
Clemson.
Amsterdam is saying 28-20 Chargers. Yeah, and that's right. Don't pick any number that is divisible by 3 because the kicker won't see the field. Plus, they're going to be going for it every time on 4th down because they're so afraid. See, Stefanski reacts to who he's playing, and that's what a huge part of the problem is. He just doesn't have the confidence in his players, and he's going to come out with a game plan that says, if we're anywhere near it, man, we're going to go for it because we know he's going to put up like 38 points, which is what he'll do. 38, and maybe the Browns can get up to 20, but
all right, so
there's going to be big plays given up.
Yeah, you're going with ass raping too. That's fair enough.
I forgot to add myself that they are missing their starting tackle. So if Myles Garrett's healthy, I think he'll have a big game too.
He can't be healthy though. He just he can't. He just can't.
They shot him out of a fucking cannon into a brick wall. You'd be sitting there saying, "Well, if he's okay."
I mean, these are rookie guy that we got. That's like, you know, Perion Winfrey's probably healthier. You know, he can't be healthy. He rolled his car like 8 times.
Well, Perion Winfrey isn't healthy in the head.
He's like a sick version. He's like a crappy Ndamukong Suh, you know.
Well, can you imagine how much of a head case he has to be if these other guys they've put in front of him, like Tommy Togiai, are playing and he's not? Come on. There must be something really wrong with this guy. Terribly wrong with him.
He's wrong. The great thing about playing Tampa Bay, I had to make this comment, is that Progressive Field will now have more Indians fans than fans cheering for the other team in it, because Tampa Bay has no fans either. So, you know, the minute we play a team that's got a fan base, then Progressive Field will lose its home field advantage. So.
Yeah, but for now, hey, I'll take the one win because we had lost 8 in a row.
So can I do the
games,
Cleveland.com Cleveland.com question? Well, do you think Tristan will be big enough for the moment tomorrow? And, do you think he'll have a good game? Or will nerves get him?
Yeah. It's like, is he really emaciated and malnourished because he's so skinny? And will his nutritional problems affect him on the mound? Mary Kay Cabbage Head. And my final thing before I get out of here, this is besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? This is it. Hurt Broncos offensive lineman Garrett Bowles and cornerback Ronald Darby are out for the year. It's like, it never gets better. It's like, oh, man. Oh. So at any rate, Ohio State's Michigan State on Saturday at 4:00. That'll be fun to watch, and I'll be watching the Browns, of course, on Sunday. And I'll be here.
Monday.
Huh?
Cavs Monday.
Season.
The Cavs' next game is on the 10th, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, and I'll be watching that because I watched the first half of their opener. I just don't want to see Nemhoff, who I call numbnuts, at the point guard position, just throw the game away. He had like a minus 42 stat in the game.
Wow, that's
but
great.
Watching the players, it was nice watching Donovan Mitchell and seeing how a guy is different.
So effortless.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, he's a big boy. He'll go into the lane, he'll put his body on you, but he knows where he's supposed to be on the floor. I think he and Garland could become very, very good together. I think that there's some things looking up in that regard. But I'll be at the half, as always, and post-game show on Sunday. and then we'll be back on Monday, and I'll probably be trying to get off the air quickly because I imagine the Cavaliers game is going to start around 7 o'clock, and I don't know how I'm going to see that game. I'm not sure if that game is going to be on NBA TV or if it's going to, what it's going to be on.
I think it's on NBA TV. And obviously League
is there
Pass.
anybody doing these preseason games in the Cleveland market even?
No
Maybe
idea.
Bally Sports.
If Bally's picks it up, I'll be able to take a gander at that. I want to see the team play. And
Yeah.
I also want to see Jetty Osman off the team so I don't have to scream about him for another season. I mean, make it stop, dear cod, great almighty fish of the ocean. All right, everybody, thanks a lot for watching and tuning in. I hope you had a good time over the course of this hour and 15 minutes like I did.
It was
And
hilarious.
we'll see you at the half on Sunday. And you know what I'll say if we're losing. You'll know what I'll say if we're winning. It's like, just show me whatever you got. And if it's 38-20 and that's all you got, then you show me what you got, then I'm right about you. If you do better, then you show me that. That's simple. Thanks again, Double P, Bronk, everybody in the chat room. I'll see you again on Sunday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
Go Browns.